It doesn't matter how big or small a restaurant is, one thing is of utmost importance: reputation. Unfortunately, even the biggest chains can ruin their reputations with a few missteps, and these chains did exactly that when they brought attention to themselves on a national scale for some of the worst reasons ever. They say all publicity is good publicity, but sometimes that's just not true. Wendy's chili finger hoax. In March 2005, a customer named Anna Ayala allegedly found a human finger in a bowl of chili she ordered from a San Jose Wendy's restaurant. When employees were ruled out as the source of the disgusting digit, Wendy's offered $50,000 for information. Police, however, had their suspicions. It turned out Ayala's husband bought the finger from a coworker who had been involved in an industrial accident. The coworker came forward, and the couple were found guilty of conspiracy to file a false insurance claim and attempted grand theft with damages exceeding $2.5 million. She was sentenced to 9 years but was released after 4 years for good behavior on the stipulation she never enter a Wendy's again. Wendy's claimed the incident led to millions in lost sales, and the pair were ordered to pay $21.8 million in damages. Wendy's agreed not to collect as long as the couple didn't try to profit from the story in the future. Talk about taking the high road. Hepatitis at Chi-Chi's. In October 2003, health officials in Pennsylvania were alerted to an unusually widespread hepatitis A outbreak and tracked the source to a local Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant. The restaurant voluntarily closed its doors, and even though over 9,000 inoculations were given out, more than 650 people were confirmed to have been infected, including 13 Chi-Chi's employees. The outbreak led to 4 deaths, and the nation was shocked. Hepatitis A infections usually occur as the result of contact with fecal matter or contaminated food, with an incubation period of 15 to 50 days. The ultimate source of the infection was believed to be green onions, usually served raw at the restaurant. That wasn't the only bad press. The restaurant had also been implicated in outbreaks in Tennessee, Georgia, and North Carolina. Although Chi-Chi's had filed for bankruptcy just before the outbreak, the court still allowed victims to settle their claims against the company. Settlements were made, including $6.25 million for a man who suffered liver failure and needed a transplant, and a class action lawsuit worth $800,000. The outbreak sealed the chain's fate, and Chi-Chi's folded. Most of its properties were bought out by Outback Steakhouse, and the last Chi-Chi's meal in the United States was served in September 2004. Racism at Denny's. In 1994, a class action lawsuit was brought against national restaurant chain Denny's for violation of federal public accommodation laws against racial discrimination. More than 4,300 complaints were filed against the chain, and the accusations were horrible. Customers reported they were being forced to sit in segregated seating, that they were arbitrarily refused service, subjected to racial slurs and taunts as they ate, or were forced to prepay for their food. While the company denied any specific policy of racial discrimination, it agreed to pay a settlement of $54 million and promised to take immediate steps to fix the problem. Denny's came to an agreement with the NAACP to invest $1 billion in jobs and contracts for minorities over the following 7 years, and ultimately made major progress in increasing its number of minority employees. Whitbread pork scandal. After being caught up in the notorious horsemeat scandal of 2013, British restaurant group Whitbread promised to institute a new system to track meat from field to fork. This all proved to be hogwash, as it was later discovered the company's brands were failing to mention the beef lasagna advertised on menus was actually made from beef and pork. Up to 250,000 of the dishes were served, with pork making up a third of the entire meat content of the lasagna. Whitbread claimed there had been no deliberate intent to deceive customers, saying, "We mistakenly and with no ill intent missed updating the website online menus for our Table, and Whitbread Inns brands. But as soon as we were alerted to this, we corrected them. This was a genuine mistake on our part, and we sincerely apologize." Representatives from the Institute for Global Food Security called the mistake unacceptable, saying, "It should be obvious to all in the food industry that there are enormous sensitivities around this in terms of religious beliefs. Correctly labeled food is not only a matter of legislation, but also having high moral and ethical standards." The incredibly obvious racism of Sambos. Sambo is a racial slur coined in 1889, and while it's unacceptable today, there was once a restaurant called Sambo's that deliberately played up the connection with the imagery inside the restaurant. The name was given as a poorly thought-out combination of the names of founders Sam Battistone Sr. and Newell Bonnet, but still, that's no excuse. There were more than 1,100 locations in 47 states, and the trouble really started as the restaurant continued to spread in the U.S. during the American Civil Rights Movement. Suddenly, people weren't particularly pleased with a pancake place that shared a name with a racial slur. By the 1970s, the company was being hit with lawsuits, and the Rhode Island Human Rights Commission determined the use of the name Sambo's had the effect of notifying Black persons that they were unwelcome at Sambo's restaurants because of their race. Eventually, some locations renamed themselves, but by 1982, most of the restaurants were closed and the company filed for bankruptcy. Currently, the only Sambo's still in operation is the original location in Santa Barbara, run by Chad Stevens, grandson of Sam Battistone Sr.